When it comes to analyzing the rhetoric of a written text, or it's time for you to write your own argument, one strategy to consider is methods of development. We don't normally consider organization a rhetorical strategy, but it absolutely is. So, what exactly is a method of development? Methods of development are common approaches writers frequently use to develop and organize the reasoning of their arguments. You cannot just throw all of your evidence at your reader's head. Your audience needs your help. You need to organize it in a way that is reasonable. A method of development provides an audience with the means to trace a writer's reasoning in an argument. Method of development and line of reasoning are connected. Generally, methods of developing content usually happen naturally as a consequence of the way the writer engages with and organizes information while writing. That just means that there's going to be a logical choice, depending on the kind of text you're analyzing or the kind of essay you're writing yourself. There's going to be a logical method to use based on the information that you have. It is normal for methods to overlap. It's also normal for an author to use 2 or even 3 methods in the same text. It depends on your topic and it depends on the length. So, what are the methods? Method 1, narration. You know what narration is. It describes what, when, and where something happened. Usually it contains characters, a setting, a conflict, and a resolution. And usually it's told chronologically. In other words, narration is telling a story. You guys have been telling stories your entire life. It is a way you can organize information. And don't think that it applies just to like a biography. If you're doing scientific research, a research report often includes narration. This was our starting point. These were the different experiments we tried. These were the outcomes. That's narration. For example, every Disney movie ever is organized narratively. You have the characters, you have what happens to them, you have a happy ending. Method 2, cause and effect. This is another way of organizing information that you're familiar with. It details why something happens, what causes it, what the effects are, and how it is related to something else. And you can have multiple causes and effects. If you are writing about history, cause and effect is a very common method of development. If you're looking at something like the Revolutionary War, it has multiple causes, it had multiple effects. You can also put the effect first if you prefer, if you want to mix things up a little bit, as long as that connection between them is clear by the end of your text. So, for example, there's an invitation to the ball, and that eventually leads to Cinderella's clothes being ripped, and then the fairy godmother appears, and then Cinderella goes to the ball. Cause, effect, cause, effect. Method 3, comparison contrast. This is something you know how to do already. It tells how something is like other things or how something is different from other things. It is very useful in extending a definition. Sometimes if you want to define what something is, you give lots and lots of comparisons. For example, in Beauty and the Beast, Belle compares and contrasts herself with the townspeople in Belle Bonjour. She's saying, this is what I'm like, this is what they're like, and she thereby shows why she's unhappy living where she is. Method 4 is definition. This is one you may not be quite so familiar with. It explains what something is in comparison to other members of its class, along with any limitations. That kind of sounds like compare and contrast. Never define anything by the according to Webster's method. Meaning is found in the world, not in the dictionary. So don't say a cat is defined by Webster's as. If you were trying to define what a cat is, you would describe other animals that are similar to a cat. You would compare it with animals that are different from a cat. And anytime you say according to the dictionary, it makes you sound really young and immature in your writing. And you don't want to sound immature in your writing. You want to sound like you know exactly what you're talking about. And sometimes when you're giving a definition, saying what something is not can help. So if you're trying to define what a cat is, you can say a cat is not a bird. That can help with the definition. If you think about The Lion King, when Mufasa is delineating the Pride Land, he's giving it essentially a definition. Everything that the sun touches is ours. Anything that is beyond that is not. Definition. And the fifth type is description. It details what something looks like and its characteristics. Again, this is something you're going to see quite a bit in science. It describes what readers need to see in order to imagine the scene, person, object, etc. This sounds a lot like, well, that's creative writing. That goes along with narration. Yeah, but also history, also crime, also, I mean, there are a lot of different types of writing that include description. And this is where you're going to use more sensory language. What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What does it look like? For example, if you're familiar with Hercules, the song Zero to Hero is description. It describes what he does. You see him go through all those changes. That is description. So when it comes to rhetorical analysis, don't forget that methods of development are one of the tools that authors and you can use to create an effective argument.